the prequel to the 1987 classic Predator, Prey. This is what I've been thinking of for a while. Why has none of the Predator sequels called their movies Prey? That seems like a no-brainer. But it doesn't matter, because the 3 sequels they had, or whatever it was, they were all terrible, so it doesn't matter the title, but that is something that had bothered me. Why had they never called one Prey? But now we have one. A Hulu original. Now, from what I've been seeing, this has been getting pretty good reviews, like 92% level good reviews. So I was curious. Like, the trailers didn't do much for me. They really didn't. And I'm gonna be perfectly honest, neither did the movie. This isn't awful. This isn't a terrible movie. This isn't nearly as bad as the 2018 atrocity. But this was still not very good. And there are several big, like, legitimate problems I have with this movie. This isn't one of those things where I was going in wanting to hate it and did. Like that shitty Cheaper by the Dozen remake, or Lightyear, or Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I had a lot of, after seeing the reviews, I got a little more hyped than I was originally, but this movie still didn't do much for me. And I'll start with the good aspects of the film. There are a few. The acting is fine, I guess. The location, like the location shots and everything, like the practical sets and everything, they're pretty good. I like the location, I like the shots, I like the cinematography for the most part's pretty decent, I guess, and the action sequences are a lot of fun. Every once in a while they get kind of boring, like especially the last fight, but overall the action was pretty decent and the editing wasn't a total mess. Thank you. This is all I ask of action movie editing, is that it isn't a disjointed mess. But they still can't get that right. So yeah, I breezed through the good stuff because there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about here. The first thing I want to talk about is that this is some of the worst CGI I've seen in over a decade. I get that this is a streaming movie, so it probably didn't have that large of a budget, but the CGI in this is atrocious. Like, the practical effects, there aren't a ton, but when they're there, they're pretty decent, but the CGI is atrocious, and it was clear it was like the third shot of the movie, it was like CGI grass or plants or something flowing in the wind. I could tell it was CGI, and, like, the CGI animals, when they become CGI creations, are terrible. Like, the little gadgets he has look terrible. The stealth mode looks really artificial, and the new design of the Predator, not only is it a really bad effect, it looks silly. It doesn't look intimidating in the slightest. I found myself laughing at it. But when the second that helmet came off, and we saw its face, I actually laughed. I really did. So yeah, we got through the effects. Yeah, they're just god-awful. And then there's the characters, like, none of them are hateable, but, I don't know, something just feels wrong. Like, there's a scene early on when, was it Tabe, I think, Naru's brother, she's pissed because she wants to go out there because she knows that the Predator's out there, and the movie paints her brother, I think it's her brother, it paints him as an asshole in this scene because he doesn't want her going out there back out into danger, especially since she fucked up getting the lion. He has full right to be pissed in this sequence, in this scene. Yet the movie's trying to paint him as the asshole here when I'm completely on his side. No, yeah, she screwed up trying to get the lion and got herself knocked out, which I'll get into more in a second because there's a problem with that. And he had to get the lion himself. So why should he let her go out there, especially out on her own? So yeah, I covered all that. And it kind of has a Mary Sue effect to it. Not a ton, not as bad as Star Wars, don't get me wrong. But it seems like she escapes death way too many times, and I'll get to that in a second. But it's like, she constantly escapes death through the flimsiest of logic. And I can see that she's, like, in training with her weapons and everything, and that's all well and good, but then she attaches a rope or, like, a vine to her hatchet, and it's implied that she hadn't done this before because somebody else makes fun of it. But she's immediately able to do she's immediately, like, a master with it. Like, the first thing she does with it, she's, like, absolutely perfect with it. It's like, what? And the fact that, and it doesn't help by the fact that the final battle is kind of crappy, and the Predator is basically killed by his own stupidity. Yay. And doesn't it also, I assumed that the Predator from the first movie was the first one there, but apparently it was a ton of others, because there's a sequence during the end credits that's, like, showing the plot of the movie through, like, animations, and at the end it has a lot more ships arriving, and her clan, like, running in fear. Alright, I think that's what it was supposed to be, so it was like, so this wasn't the Predator from the first movie wasn't the first one to show up? Whatever. So now, here's my main problem. This movie is filled with so many plot holes and plot contrivances and questions that remain unanswered throughout the entirety of the film. So many that I had to write them down. So, let's just go through them, shall we? First off, like I mentioned before, how did she survive the attack of the lion? She knocked herself out. She didn't knock herself out. She fell out of the tree, hit her head, got knocked out. Not only should that have killed her, that fall should have killed her, she smacked her head good. But it's not really, like, it's made clear that the brother's the one who dragged her back, but how did she survive that? Like, if she just fell, that would have been fine, but she, like, smacked her head, like, to a point where it should have, like, cracked her skull, and we'll get more into that in a second. The next one. Where is it? Oh, here it is. There was a sequence when they're, like, being kidnapped by, apparently these guys are French, I had to look it up, the fur trappers, and not only do these guys come out and like, when the Predator has Naru trapped in a freaking bear trap, well, she did it herself, but he like, grabs the chain as if he's gonna drag her over to kill her, but the second these 4 numbnuts with guns show up, he leaves. Why? He was in prime position, he was going to kill her. There's some flimsy, half-assed explanation that shows up later, like, oh, because she was no longer a threat, he didn't feel like fighting her. That's bullshit. But the second these guys with guns showed up, he didn't bother to kill them as well, since they were a threat, even if they couldn't see him. Next up, during that fight scene, the Predator, so originally in the Predator movies, they have, like, a bomb that goes off that destroys them if they are ever defeated. And the gauntlet shoots those off. Not only are these guys idiots for walking up to the gauntlet while it's there, especially when these spinning things start spinning within it and then float up. You'd think they would have run the second it started moving. But then it cuts to an overhead shot, and it's not an explosion, it's just a bunch of shockwaves. And it doesn't show the effect of what happened. Like, we don't know if these just knocked them out, or if it disintegrated them or something. We don't know. Next up, why didn't Taibei go with Naru? He stays behind to fight the Predator so she can escape, but really all he did was slow her down, because the two of them combined could have fought the Predator and probably beaten him, because she beats him on her own later. So the two of them combined probably could have taken him pretty easily, but no, he decides to stay behind and fight and let her run instead of just going with her when they both had adamant amount of time. Whatever. And there's another part during that scene where Naru hides behind a tree and the Predator can't see her. Huh? Because there's this thing in this movie where she has the orange flower thing that's like medicine that makes you, like, so cold and drops your body temperature so low to the point where the Predator can't see you with his infrared vision. That's fine. It's a little convenient, but that they happen to have that, but I can let that go. Problem is, she didn't take the flower yet, so he should still be able to see her. And even if you want to make the argument that it's because she was hiding behind the tree, he was able to see somebody through a log earlier on in the movie. so he should be able to see her from behind the tree. Next up, the Predator has this, like, big shield in this movie. I don't know if he did in the other ones. I haven't seen them in forever, and I never want to watch 2, 3, or The Predator again. But he has this big-ass shield, and a lot of times when he'll hit somebody, it'll, like, completely, like, decapitate them, or knock them out, or cut them, or something. Naru gets smacked in the face with it during the final battle, and she's totally fine. Like, this is something that has completely, that should have, like, cut off her head, or, like, given her a concussion at the bare minimum, but her plot armor is so strong that it blocked the shield, I guess, because it does absolutely nothing. Next up, there's a point where she has this, like, long spear of the Predator's, and she's about to throw it, and then it shrinks. But it still has the sharp end to it, so why not throw it anyway? Like, that's just stupid to me. And later on, she uses a guy as bait. Now, this is a clever idea. She's using the orange flower so she remains invisible, while using some other guy as bait. There's two problems with this. One, it was already established that the Predator isn't going for bait. Otherwise, he would have killed Naru while she was stuck in the bear trap. And two, why would you stand right next to him and risk him bumping into you? Because earlier on in the movie, there was a guy who was injured, and she gave him the orange flower so he was invisible, but he stepped on him, and that blew his cover, so he was able to stab him. So why would you risk the Predator running into you and discovering that you're there and then killing you? It just seems like an unnecessary risk. And were there any other notes I had? No, not there. So yeah, no, that's all the notes I had about it, but yeah, this movie has so many plot holes and plot contrivances, and our main character is built in so much plot armor that is ridiculous. Like I said, it can be a fun enough movie if you turn your brain off, but I couldn't do that. I saw all these plot holes that you can drive a freaking truck through. I saw all the plot contrivances, the main character being virtually invincible for some reason. And the only character I gave a shit about was a dog. I'm dead serious. And the CGI is atrocious. Like, if you're gonna use so much CGI in your movie, make it good. Like, people bitch about Thor Love and Thunder CGI. It had moments where it looked fantastic with the special effects. This movie, even though it's a low-ass budget movie, if you can't make good CGI with your budget, do something else. Either try to make it practical, raise your budget, or don't make the fucking movie. Like I said, this isn't a terrible movie by any means, but it's just poorly written. That's the problem. It's the writing. Everything, like I said, the action is kind of cool. The performances are all fine. The characters are mostly likable. So, but it's just the CGI is awful, and the script needed like 10 more rewrites to iron out all of the plot contrivances and plot holes. So that's all I got for Prey. I'm giving this a C-. I'm getting really sick of seeing C's and C- in the past month, because that's been what almost every movie's gotten. Like, my last 5 reviews have been C or C-. So that's all I got for Prey. Thank you all so much for watching, and now I have to go watch Bullet Train and Secret Headquarters, and hopefully both of them will come out tomorrow. So I'll see you all then. Bye.